Hey, welcome to Three Count Commentaries. It's your boy Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about Kelly Klein, who is now suing Ring of Honor. She's suing Ring of Honor for, and I quote, employment discrimination. She says that the complaint outlines the following. This is from Heal by Nature: breach of implied contract, unpaid royalties, violation of state and federal equal pay acts, and abusive discharge, discrimination and harassment, and unsafe work environment. The names the parties listed in the lawsuit are Greg Gilliland, who is the general manager of Ring of Honor; Hunter Johnston, aka Delirious, the booker, creative director, senior producer, and or head trainer at the Baltimore Dojo training program for Ring of Honor; Joe Koff, COO, Chief Operating Officer, and Vice President of Training and Development at Ring of Honor; and Jamar Shipman, professional wrestler at Ring of Honor known as Jay Lethal. So, she's suing Ring of Honor. So for those of you who don't know, we're going to get in our Wayback Machine, and we're going to go way, way, way back to the year of our Lord 2019, and we're going to look at this article where Kelly Klein first started talking about Ring of Honor. This was November the 22nd, 2019. This is from Newsweek. When professional wrestler hit her head on a match on October 26th, it's entitled, Ring of Honor Wrestling Champion Kelly Klein spoke out about wrestler safety, then she lost her job. This is in Newsweek. So when professional wrestler Kelly Klein hit her head in a match on October 26th, she didn't immediately realize that something was wrong. Klein, the reigning women's champion for Maryland-based company Ring of Honor, finished the rest of the contest and won. It was only when she returned to the backstage area after her match, laid down on the concrete floor of the women's dressing room, and began speaking gibberish for about an hour that her colleagues realized that Klein appeared to have sustained an injury. The wrestler would later find out she had suffered a concussion, a brain injury caused by a blow to the head, and not for the first time. Klein's head injury, an unrelated incident that led to the resignation of veteran wrestler Adam Birch, 40, a former Ring of Honor player coach of sorts who goes by the name of Joey Mercury, have raised concerns about the wrestling company's duty of care to its talent and management that puts profits over people. Whenever you see something like profits over people, you know you're talking about leftism. I mean, this has nothing to do with profits over people. Come on. 6 current and former Ring of Honor talent and employees, including Klein and Birch, tell Newsweek that the company does not have any standard policies in place for treating injuries, including concussions that occur in the ring, nor does Ring of Honor employ dedicated medical staff to diagnose or treat wrestlers' injuries at its events. This means talent are often at risk of getting hurt, and the onus falls on them to get help independently. Ring of Honor denies this is the case and said it has had a concussion policy in place since 2016. Let's see. Klein, 33, alleges that after she hit her head in the ring during a UK tour in October and returned to the backstage area, quote, "There was no doctor there to check on me. Nobody suggested a protocol. I wasn't aware or briefed on a protocol. This, say Klein, Birch, and others, is alarming because other major U.S. leagues, such as industry leader WWE and upstart AEW, have medical staff on hand at all events and procedures for dealing with injuries. Birch has first-hand knowledge of WWE's medical policies after working there for over a decade as both a wrestler and a producer." Klein, Birch, and 3 more sources, who each spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation or being blackballed from the industry, say they have only seen medical personnel at Ring of Honor events when required by athletic commissions in states that sanction professional wrestling like a traditional sport, or when provided by the host venue. In Klein's case, she was fortunate in the UK venue in October had its own medical personnel. They performed routine tests and recommended Klein go to the hospital. But this experience was an anomaly. Klein says she suffered her first concussion working for Ring of Honor in April 2018, and as with her most recent head injury, quote, "Nothing happened. Nobody looked at me when I came through to the backstage area." Another current performer who says they were concussed after hitting their head in a Ring of Honor match alleges that they were, quote, "asked if I was okay, and that was about it." Symptoms of concussion can include temporary loss of cognitive abilities, confusion, headaches, and depression, some of which Klein says she continues to suffer after her injury in October. Mild concussions tend to clear up after 2 or 3 weeks, but in some cases, brain trauma can have more long-term adverse effects, including depression and behavioral changes. One Ring of Honor wrestler, who Newsweek has chosen not to name, exhibited noticeable changes in demeanor after suffering a concussion earlier this year. 3 people with knowledge of the situation, including Klein and Birch, told Newsweek, quote, "It was very clear he had changed," said Klein. "He was a different person. He wasn't taking as good care of himself. He made comments about being unhappy." Okay. Another source describes the wrestler as being, quote, "very depressed." Birch, whose responsibilities included liaisoning with talent on behalf of management, became concerned about the talent and says he eventually advised Ring of Honor's executive producer to pull them from competition pending medical review. Quote, "It was the right thing to do, but it should have been done sooner," says Birch. The talent has not wrestled since August, according to online match records. Over the past 15 years, there has also been crucial scientific discovery about the lifelong impact of repetitive brain trauma in athletes, many of whom will experience blows to the head thousands of times throughout their careers. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, is a degenerative brain disease that affects people who have had repeated head injuries and is most common among athletes in combat sports and military service people. CTE can only be conclusively diagnosed by examining brain tissue after death, but symptoms can be present later in life and can include aggression, paranoia, suicidal thoughts, and dementia. Deeper understanding of these effects of traumatic brain injuries has precipitated more rigorous protocols across all sports from the NFL to WWE. Christopher Nowinski, a former WWE wrestler and co-founder of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, has been working to educate athletes on concussions since 2006, after suffering his own career-ending concussion 3 years earlier. Nowinski holds annual training sessions for WWE talent in line with its comprehensive concussion protocol, which includes comparing baseline and post-injury brain function, and recently held a similar seminar for AEW wrestlers. Quote, "Every sports organization, every professional wrestling organization should have a concussion policy," he says. "If you are a national or international wrestling organization, you should have medical staff at every show, and there should be procedures followed with concussion." In a statement to Newsweek, a Ring of Honor spokesperson says, quote, "Our concussion policy has been in place since 2016, and we have medical staff at all events. Further, many state athletic commissions have various medical requirements in place, policies to which we adhere at all times. For states where this requirement does not exist, we always have medical personnel on site, whether it be an EMT or any other medical professional. Any performer who suffers an injury is attended to immediately. Suggestions that we do not adhere to these standards are completely and provably false." Ring of Honor did not provide Newsweek with a copy of his concussion policy. On November the 7th, during a face-to-face meeting in Maryland, Klein raised her concerns with Chief Operating Officer Joe Koff. She says she was told the company does have a concussion policy. To this day, Klein has not seen it. She says, quote, "I pointed out that even if they do have one, the talent is not aware of it," she says. Koff told her she says that Ring of Honor management is always aware when talent is hurt. Klein responded, "No, you don't, because nobody knew I had a concussion in New Orleans, the April 2018 concussion." 4 people with knowledge of the situation, including Klein and Birch, say Koff and General Manager Greg Gilliland often leave shows before they have ended. Quote, "At live events, people could get hurt at any time. There have been instances where talent would get hurt, but there's no medical protocol. There's no concussion protocol," says one source. Klein says there was also no one in a management position present when she hit her head in the ring in October. This means that talent, in the absence of dedicated on-site medical staff or documented injury policy, cannot immediately turn to the judgment of a senior manager either. For head injuries such as concussion, timing can be crucial. The Concussion Legacy Foundation states that an immediate response to a potential concussion plays an important role in recovery. In one instance described to Newsweek by Klein and other person with knowledge of the situation, it fell upon a non-management employee to insist a female talent who hit her head in the ring and appeared concussed in January to go to the hospital to receive medical condition. attention. I'm sorry. It's an unsafe place for talent, says a source. Health and safety is just one example of the gulf between employees and talent and the people in charge, according to numerous current and former employees and talent. Klein, Birch, and another performer say talent are left to treat their own injuries even when they appear to be sustained while working for Ring of Honor. Wrestlers who work for the company are employed as independent contractors, which is also common in WWE, and are not eligible for employee benefits such as health insurance. But Ring of Honor says, like WWE, it absorbs the cost of wrestlers' injury-related medical expenses. So that's going to be a very interesting thing. Because what she's claiming in the lawsuit, which we'll get into in a minute, is that she had to pay for this stuff out of her own pocket and was never reimbursed. But let's continue with the Newsweek story before we get to the actual lawsuit. Klein says Ring of Honor did not offer or to arrange or pay for treatment for her recent concussion. Okay, there that goes. Again, the lack of documented policy makes it unclear to talent who is responsible for arranging medical costs and care. In some cases, but not all, wrestlers may be told they can invoice for the cost of appointments and procedures, but only after they have already paid out of their own pockets. Klein, whose annual pay is just $20,000, is only able to afford costly neurologist appointments and rehabilitation because she benefits from her husband's private health insurance. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to take care of these appointments, she says. Klein says she still hasn't been advised whether she can invoice the company for costs. That $20,000, I don't know. But they mentioned her husband, but didn't mention his name. Interesting. Another wrestler who was told they could invoice for medical bills they pay for after sustaining an injury in the ring, quote, but was not told not to go about it. Not told how to go about it. They were eventually reimbursed after paying hospital fees out of pocket, but say it, quote, would have been easier had they just covered everything up front, as is the case with WWE. A Ring of Honor spokesperson disputes these assertions, telling Newsweek, when an injury occurs during one of our events, Ring of Honor covers the cost of treatment for that event-related injury. At times, certain performers see a medical professional outside of the event, which they are entitled to do. When this occurs, the performer is reimbursed. In other words, what Ring of Honor is saying is that if you get injured, we'll take care of it. If you go on your own, and then you come and you bring the medical note receipt, let's call it a receipt, and you bring the receipt to us, we'll pay for it. So I see what they're trying to say here. Several current and former employees and wrestlers raised concerns about this and other examples of perceived penny pinching by Ring of Honor. One source says that the guardrails used outside the ring to keep us safe are flimsy, likening them to, quote, metal gates you would find at a kid's soccer game. And Birch and Klein say that when traveling for events, talent is often paired up in double occupancy hotel rooms instead of their own accommodation. How about that? We should get our own rooms. But if Ring of Honor is paying for it, you have to use what they want. See, this is one of the things about when people start talking about, WWE should pay for their travel. It's like, yeah, then they get to decide whether you sleep with other people or not, or, if they're going to be paying for the car, they can pick who's carpooling, that kind of stuff, man. Like, you don't want them in control of your travel, but all these people who want unions and all this kind of stuff, these are the types of things that you're going to lose control over. I'm sure some people don't care, but if you're a woman, you probably do care, right? You want your privacy. If you're a man, you may want privacy, but that's just something. Let's continue going here. To be sure, Ring of Honor does not have the same operational investment as WWE, but its parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, is the second largest operator of television networks in the U.S., with total revenues of $3.05 billion and a net income of $34.9 million in 2018, according to the company's annual investor report. Let's see. We got any more here. 7 current and former Ring of Honor employees and wrestlers say that the issues of talent safety and other concerns derive from Gilliland, the company's general manager, and Joe Koff, the COO. They say that Ring of Honor management is disorganized and there is a lack of communication from higher-ups to talent and staff. A majority of the 7 sources also say that Gilliland is often abrasive and difficult to communicate with. Quote, Greg is a terrible manager of people, says one source. 3 sources familiar with the situation say that the contact of wrestler Nicole Maraspiro, who competes as Maria Manic, mistakenly expired in late September. The contract expired in late September because Gilliland forgot to exercise an option to renew it. This is corroborated by text messages between Gilliland and Birch on October the 2nd and seen by Newsweek. In one, Birch asked, quote, Maria's contract being a mistake, you mean it was your oversight? Gilliland responded, yes. Spiro attended a WWE audition last month, but ultimately signed a new contract worth close to mid-5 figures to stay with Ring of Honor. Okay. Gilliland is a very book smart and very knowledgeable as far as crunching numbers. But as far as being a people person, he's god-awful, says one source. Klein, Birch, and another source say that the news that Spiro's contract was allowed to lapse negatively affected morale among Ring of Honor talent and increased the feeling that management doesn't value or communicate with his talent. This sentiment is compounded by Gilliland appearing to speak derisively of talent privately. In a text message to Birch sent to October the 2nd and seen by Newsweek, Gilliland admitted it was his mistake that Spiro's contract was allowed to expire. By that, quote, Maria, while intriguing and full of potential, is not going to make us millions. Another text message sent to Birch on October 23rd suggested booking a freelance wrestler was, quote, a waste of money. All right, so apparently Joey Mercury has, he is sharing information that he has as somebody who worked in the office and sharing it with Newsweek, which is the risk you always run when you share information with people. Only one way 2 people can hold a secret is if one of them is dead. So Joey Mercury, who is integral into this story, right? Because he is backing up Kelly Klein, who is making all these complaints. They're leaving out some stuff that's really important. Hopefully I won't have to. Matter of fact, I think I will dig it up. But we're going to go through the legal stuff first, because that's just the fun stuff. We're going to get a little bit into the dirt later. I don't want to deal in gossip, but, some stuff needs to be said because things are missing. Quote, let's continue. 2 sources who worked directly with Gilliland and Koff say that they and others have complained to either Koff or Human Resources about Gilliland, but no action has ever been taken. Quote, Greg creates a very unsafe work environment for everybody. Joe does as well. Joe is an enabler, says one source. Another says, quote, Joe always takes up for Greg. He can do no wrong. He protects him from everything. Adding that often management pins the blame on employees or talent instead. Like this situation, Birch is a disgruntled ex-employee and Kelly is overdramatic, they say. Klein has had her own difficulties with Gilliland. While negotiating her contract for 2019 in December last year, the wrestler asked Gilliland for an annual pay of $24,000, an increase of $4,000, but was rebuffed. In an email sent to Gilliland on December 16th, as seen by Newsweek, Klein summarized a phone call they had writing, quote, you said you couldn't do that because then you would have to pay all of other women the same amount. In a reply on December 17th, Gilliland explained he refused Klein's raise request because the company, quote, aligning the compensations for the women's division as it continues to grow. Klein inferred from this that Gilliland felt it appropriate to compensate or at least suggest compensating women equally because of their gender without accounting for merit, experience, or longevity. Okay, so she wants to be paid for her experience and merit and, longevity. Okay, that's the right things. No, that's the right thing. Klein says, coupled with lack of development of storylines for the women's division on the weekly Ring of Honor television series, makes it, quote, very evident they value the women less than the male wrestlers. Quote, there is a lack of real value of the talent in management's eyes in general. And then with the women especially, I don't feel that they value the women or what they're doing or how hard they're working. A Ring of Honor spokesperson tells Newsweek that, quote, a $20,000 contract is the most ever offered for the women's division and is, in fact, more than what is paid to most male performers who work on a non-exclusive basis. Interesting. Very interesting. So, $20,000, while not a lot, is the most they've ever paid any woman. And unless you're an exclusive male, she gets paid more than most of the guys. So that question would then be how many guys you have that are not exclusive. This is 2019, so things probably have changed since then. Let's continue back to the story. But a new contract being negotiated between Klein and Ring of Honor since July, and seen by Newsweek, was valued at $50,000 per year, more than double Klein's existing pay. This deal, unlike her previous one, would have made Klein's services exclusive to Ring of Honor. Okay, so she was making $20,000 but was not exclusive. So she could go work in other places. Now they were willing to double what she was being paid, but she would have to work exclusively for Ring of Honor. Okay, that's interesting. That's a nice little wage jump. She only asked for $4,000 a raise. She's going to get double that and then have to be the face of the division. Interesting. It's an interesting choice, but if this shit is as bad as she says it is, I see why she turned it down. Let's go back to the story. In early October, after Klein's concussion, but before her meeting with Ring of Honor COO Koff, Burch took some of the private frustrations among Ring of Honor talent and employees public. In a series of tweets that quickly fueled the wrestling rumor mill, Burch attacked Gilliland, the company's safety practices, and television production values, among other things. Burch says his growing frustrations, including with Gilliland about talent injuries, led him to quit his behind-the-scenes role with the company on October 25th, a day before Klein suffered her concussion. Wow. A WWE veteran, Burch joined Ring of Honor in 2018 as a backstage factotum. What kind of word is that? He worked as a coach in the company's wrestling school in Baltimore, a creative consultant on the Ring of Honor TV show, and made a natural choice to bridge the gap between talent and management, having worked on both sides of the industry. Klein and other talent gravitated towards Burch for his counsel. 3 sources familiar with the situation, Klein included, say Burch, at least for a while, helped improve communications between the two sides and gave talent a more approachable senior person to turn to. Klein says Burch helped her, quote, close gaps in communication. I bet. When discussing a new contract with Koff and Gilliland earlier this year, a Northern source said, quote, he would go out of his way to find out information and nobody would seem to know for talent. So, when Burch abruptly quit, Klein voiced her allegiance to her mentor on Twitter. She said that Burch was, quote, the best coach I ever had. And that he tried to improve safety practices to protect talent. Burch, too, pulled Klein from his public criticism of Ring of Honor. With her permission, he shared screenshots of Klein's aforementioned email exchange with Gilliland about women's pay last December to illustrate his issues with the company. In November 19th email, Koff informed Klein that Ring of Honor deemed the public dissemination of her email exchange with Gilliland a breach of her contract. So that is what she was fired for. She was fired for breaching her contract, which is the public dissemination of the email exchange between her and Greg Gilliland. So that's what they claim that she was fired for. Okay? That's, when we get to the lawsuit, she's going to say she was fired, for speaking out. But they're saying you didn't just speak out. You are sharing private emails with, this guy, and you're just putting it out there, without context. That is a violation of your contract. If that's true, then they have a good argument. But we'll get to the lawsuit in a minute, I promise. I just want to make sure everybody understands what is going on here. So Klein was told the company has decided to let her contract expire at the end of the year and will no longer negotiate the far more lucrative $50,000 deal the two sides have been discussing since July. This effectively banishes Klein from Ring of Honor come January. The wrestler, who is still Ring of Honor Women's Champion, believes this is retaliation for publicly and privately raising concerns about Ring of Honor's talent safety policies, specifically in relation to concussions. I'm not really surprised, says Klein. I could see it was a strong possibility. I am very disappointed and heartbroken. For me to ask for them to do better, they view that as denigrating the company, which is not the case. I love Ring of Honor. That's why I want Ring of Honor to do better. In a statement to Newsweek, a Ring of Honor spokesperson says that, quote, Duck cannot comment on internal personnel matters, but we reserve the right to terminate or continue contracts according to their terms. So, oh boy, there's more to it. Also has deeply personal reasons for his campaign for improved safety and medical policies of wrestlers. He was friends with the late wrestler Chris Benoit, who in 2007 killed his wife and son and then himself. Benoit had CTE from a career of repetitive head trauma that caused severe brain damage. Burt says his friend, quote, didn't remotely resemble the monster that he did what he did. He doesn't want to see more wrestlers getting needlessly hurt and risking their long-term health. It's, quote, it's exploitative, it's inhumane, he says. Klein is not planning to wrestle for the rest of the year as she recovers from her concussion. While she may be on the show physically, Klein says she is more than up for continuing the fight to get better working conditions. Quote, I imagine part of the process behind trying to shut me out of Ring of Honor was that maybe the issues would no longer apply to me and I'd just drop it. But it's not ever been about how things could benefit only me. I want my friends and colleagues to have a safe and fair work environment, she says. Quote, I'm still going to ask them to do better. Taking away my job there does not change the issues. I want them to be accountable for creating an unsafe work environment, and the only way I know is to have enough eyes on it that the public will have to hold them accountable. All right, so that's the backstory. There are some missing pieces to that backstory, but that's the original article that was on Newsweek, and it was a bombshell when it originally dropped, and it was nuts. But I feel like there still needs to be more said. Okay, so January 2nd, 2020. This is just a couple of weeks after all this stuff came out. BJ Whitmer reveals he and Kelly Klein are getting a divorce. So remember, Kelly Klein was being able to pay for all these concussions and injuries because she was on her husband's health insurance, right? Her husband is BJ Whitmer. He was the producer for Ring of Honor. So here's what BJ Whitmer said about the divorce. Quote, I have a personal statement to make. My wife, Kelly Klein, and I are divorcing. This is happening because Klein breached the trust in our relationship by stepping outside of our marriage. This is the only thing I have to say about this matter. This has been a very difficult time for myself and my family. News of our split was already spreading around the business, and I wanted to make a statement before it hit social media or the wrestling media. And then WrestlingInc says they were married in 2017. So then, obviously, this is all spinning out of the whole Newsweek article, right? This was after the Newsweek article. So, of course, they leave out the whole thing about Kelly Klein stepping outside the marriage and who she might have been stepping outside the marriage with. And I guess you could put two and two together. Why else would she be letting Joey Mercury? No, I'm not going to say that. It's wrong to gossip. I don't know. But I'm just saying. You know, it's going to put some ellipses right there. Let's get to the lawsuit. So this is from Healed by Nature. This was posted, 32 minutes ago. When is that? What's the date? Well, the date is the 24th. So, the 25th. So, she filed the lawsuit on the 24th. So, it says, Klein alleges she was terminated from Ring of Honor on December 31st, 2019 for the following reasons according to complaint. Plaintiff alleges that the defendants terminated her contract as of December 31st, 2019 because of her complaints regarding the desperate pay for Women of Honor female wrestlers, the lack of safety and medical protocols for plaintiff suffered the concussion on October of 2019, and the sexual harassment at Ring of Honor. It says below are excerpts from the complaint. The full document can be read at the end of the article. Let's see. They're going to go through a list of her injuries. It's a list of concussions. September 16th, 2016, Klein wrestled a match in Pittsburgh. Hit her head on a steel guardrail. Nobody employed or engaged by defendants checked on Klein's medical condition, and no medical staff was available to her. Klein reported to her injury to Whitmer, who was defendant's agent in charge of the match, but no medical treatment was made available. Klein continued to suffer from headaches and pain from the impact of the guardrail through October 2016, so she told Delirious, that she was going to seek treatment for the pain. Johnston did not offer any information, guidance, or information regarding treatment. Klein sought treatment at her own expense, was never reimbursed for the costs by defendants, and defendants never reached out to Klein about her injuries or the cost related thereto. April 7th, 2018, UNO Arena, New Orleans. Klein was wrestling another female who kicked Klein in the head and pulled on Klein's head, causing a concussion. Klein was unable to, quote, kick out of a pin attempt, thereby resulting in the wrong finish of the match for the scripted ending of the match. Despite defendants knowing the finish of the match was botched, defendants did not check on Klein. Klein reported the injury to defendant's agent in charge of the match, Whitmer, but there were no medical personnel available to address her injury, and no medical treatment was rendered. Klein never sought treatment for her concussion. June 2nd, 2018, Klein's tooth was broken in an ROH match in the Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan Center, New York City. Again, Klein reported the injuries to defendant's agent in charge of the match, Whitmer, but there were no medical personnel available to address her injury, and no medical treatment was rendered. Klein sought medical treatment from a dentist for her injury, and the tooth was capped. Despite ROH asking Klein for her x-rays and referencing her broken tooth on their website and on the episode of their television show, episode 356, aired July 13th, 2018, defendants never follow up to check on Klein, request that she submit her medical bills or to reimburse her. Per Klein's request, she was eventually reimbursed for the medical treatment related to the chipped tooth. December 14th, 2018, Klein had an in-person conversation with Ian Riccaboni, an announcer for Ring of Honor, advising him that many of the female wrestlers did not feel safe in the wrestling ring with women wrestlers who were reckless and not properly trained. Well, I just be damned. This is the problem. I've heard this for a long, long time. When I used to argue with people on the internets, since I get blocked on Twitter a lot, I don't do a lot of arguing with people on the internets anymore. Plus, I have this site now. I just go and say whatever I want. I saw a lot of people say, well, this is why women like to wrestle intergender matches, because a lot of the women are poorly trained. And I would just say, so why should the men have to deal with poorly trained women wrestlers? But this is interesting. So he said that the women were poorly trained. Klein advised Riccaboni that Ring of Honor management did not take the safety of the performers seriously. Otherwise, a lot of female talent engaged by Ring of Honor would not be participating in matches. Riccaboni told Klein that he understood the concern, but that Todd Sinclair, who was the main booker for women's matches, really liked those reckless women wrestlers, but that he would have to talk with him about it. Note that in professional wrestling, the booker is the person who sets up the wrestling matches, the storylines, and the predetermined endings in the matches. January 30th, 2019, Clyde had a conversation with Todd Sinclair in Baltimore, Maryland, regarding Klein's safety concerns, specifically female talent being forced to work in matches they felt unsafe in, and with people they did not feel safe with. Todd Sinclair told Klein that it was the first he had heard about these issues, despite Klein previously overhearing another performer complaining to Mr. Sinclair about certain wrestlers being reckless and unsafe. Mr. Sinclair further explained that the unsafe, reckless women were only booked for a few more dates, and that in the future, Klein and others would be asked ahead of time if they agreed to work with these problematic performers. Klein had a conversation following a March 15, 2019 match in Las Vegas with Todd Sinclair, Johnston, and other ROH agents, wherein she was also injured, but the conversation fell on deaf ears. Klein did not seek treatment for her injury in the match. April 6, 2019, Madison Square Garden, New York City. During her women's championship match, Klein was hurt as a result of a kick to the head. Klein attempted to protect herself by going outside to the ring floor. Klein was outside on the ring floor when the other female wrestler climbed to the top of the ring and dived on Klein. Klein caught the other wrestler to prevent her from being injured, but Klein hit her head during the catch. Klein remembers telling someone who walked by her that she needed a minute to recover. Klein also attempted to let the referee know she was hurt, but she cannot remember how long she was dazed and or unconscious. Klein finished the match and was surprised that neither of the referee or any other representative of ROH was there to check on her. Instead, defendants permitted wrestlers to enter the ring and perform, including a wrestling move to Klein despite Klein remaining injured in the ring. After the match, someone Klein did not recognize told her to go to do an interview. September 28, 2019. Another female wrestler struck her head during a match. Klein was sent a text message to Gilliland. He said it was, quote, a judgment call, and that Gary, member of management, was on site. No management ever came to check on the injured wrestler who was being seen by EMTs. October the 12th, 2019. In New Orleans, Klein discovered that her opponent was not up to date on her blood work, which is required for licensing in various states. Defendants are responsible for ensuring that all required blood work is completed. God damn. This is 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later. October 26th, 2019 in Newport, Wales. Klein was defending her title against Lena Austin. During the match, Austin injured Klein's head, which left Klein confused and disoriented. She continued wrestling approximately 6 more minutes. Klein believes she was informed Marty Scurll she was injured, but she was talking incoherently and was unable to form sentences. After the match, she was laying on the floor in the dressing room for an hour, and after people heard about her rambling incoherently for almost an hour, Mandy Leon, another wrestler, went to get help. Nobody from management ever came to check on Klein. EMTs arrived to check on her after 1 hour had passed. November the 7th, 2019, Klein met with Koff regarding, in part, safety issues surrounding the wrestler's performances. Koff stated that a concussion protocol existed and that medical staff were always available. Klein advised him that medical staff was not always available, nor were they identified to Klein or the other wrestlers. Klein further explained that none of the wrestlers were aware of a concussion protocol or that medical staff was always available. Now, we get into the discrimination and harassment stuff. All right, this video is going to be pretty long. Discrimination and harassment. During the time that the agreement and amendment was in effect, Klein and all other female wrestlers were paid a lower wage than the male counterparts. On or about January 13, 2017, Klein was in a hot tub near the pool of a hotel where, staying with the night before an event, Shipman approached Klein while leering at her in a way that made Klein uncomfortable. Started harassing her by asking questions about whether her boyfriend was there, if she was staying in the hotel alone, and how long she would be at the hotel. Shipman's behavior made Klein very uncomfortable. So she is saying that Jay Lethal sexually harassed her. This is what she's saying. And she's saying that him asking her about whether her boyfriend was there and whether she was by herself and the way he was leering at her made her uncomfortable. Okay. That's questionable. That's questionable. Let's see. January 25th, Klein received an email from Ring of Honor management advising her and the other wrestlers that Shipman would be the new agent assigned to work with the female wrestlers. 1 day later, Klein responded to the email and explained that she had witnessed and experienced several situations with Shipman that made her uncomfortable to work with him. She advised ROH management that she was not willing to work with Shipman and requested that another agent be assigned to their matches. Klein went on to explain that she had not expressed this sooner for fear of backlash and retaliation. February 2017, BJ Whitmer, another male wrestler assigned to ROH, was informed by Shipman that Johnston informed Shipman that Klein had complained about him. So somebody told BJ Whitmer that, BJ Whitmer, another male wrestler assigned to ROH, was informed by Shipman. So Jay Lethal told BJ Whitmer that Hunter Johnston, Delirious, informed Shipman that Klein had complained about him. So somebody found out that Kelly Klein had made a complaint and told BJ Whitmer. Okay. That was really confusing. I had to break that down myself. July 2018, Sinclair, buy-in through their human resources department, spoke with Klein regarding another female wrestler's complaints regarding Shipman. Klein informed the department of her situation with Shipman in 2017 and was informed that no information had been received and no investigation was done. Klein also informed the department that Shipman knew she was accusing him of sexually harassing behavior. November 3rd, 2018, a meeting between female wrestlers and ROH management occurred. Todd Sinclair, Koff, Riccaboni, and Johnston were present. The discussion centered around the desperate treatment between the male and female talent of Ring of Honor, despite the success of the female division of Ring of Honor. Specifically, the female talent discussed the lack of storylines, the way the women were portrayed, the amount of television exposure, and why they were not being represented more in the marketing of the show. The management advised the female wrestlers that there was not enough time on the show, so management was forced to think outside the box, producing YouTube content and social media marketing regarding the female talent. So they were complaining about the lack of advertising for the women, and they weren't used in storylines and stuff like that. December 17, 2018, Klein had an email correspondence and phone conversation with Greg Gilliland regarding her salary. Specifically, after she saw the initial offer of $20,000 for 2019, she asked if it would be possible for her salary to be increased to $24,000. Greg Gilliland rejected this because he stated that all female wrestlers in ROH were paid the same, and that if he paid Klein more, then all of the other women wrestlers will have to be paid more. This salary was substantially below the salary that the male wrestlers were paid, and the decision to pay the salary was based upon the fact that Klein was a female. Klein was asked to make more appearances with no limit regarding the frequency of her appearances than other female talent. Plaintiff learned that at least one male member of Ring of Honor talent was paid $184,000 and was afforded single occupancy rooming. On or about July 30th, 2019. See, now, let's go back to here. She said that a male talent was making $184,000. Now, in the previous article, they talked about bumping her pay up to $50,000, right? But that she would have to become exclusive. So when you talk about pay disparities, are you talking about people who have the same level of experience as you and are in the same bracket as you? Because somebody who's making $184,000 probably is an exclusive talent, probably a higher level male talent. And he probably makes more money than all of the other men, right? So if he's he might be the highest earning male, who knows? And that's not representative of what all the other guys are making. So this is why you have to, know about the full information. This is why I took all that time to read all that shit. So people can understand that, there's more to it than what we're being told. January 30th, 2019, Klein had a discussion with Sinclair regarding the lack of creativity for the female talent storylines as compared to the male talent. March 7th, 2019, Klein was informed by Adam Birch, that's Joey Mercury, that someone in management did not want her to go to training because Shipman would be there. September 30th, 2019, Klein had a discussion with Lauren Sisselman, an ROH employee who arranges travel, regarding Klein traveling to the dojo in Baltimore to train. Lauren said Gilliland told her that if Shipman was going to be there, then Klein could not be there, and instructed her to wait to confirm Shipman's presence before allowing her to come. Okay, she filed a complaint against Jay Lethal. Now she's complaining that people would not let her go to places where he might be. Okay. November 7th, 2019, Klein met with Koff to discuss fair pay and sexual harassment. A human resources employee from Sinclair Broadcasting, Caitlin, was also present. Plaintiff advised Koff that the salaries for the female talent were not comparable to that of the male talent. Further, Klein complained about the sexual harassment by Shipman. Koff said he thought it had been resolved. Plaintiff told him that it had not. But plaintiff had not just been talking about it because nothing had ever been done. Plaintiff had brought this up to HR in 2018, and management has revealed her name to Jay Lethal, even though there was no formal investigation, which created a hostile work environment for her. Koff stated that there was no documentation for the 2018 claim, and that HR was only for employees, and she was not an employee. Interesting. When Klein asked for policies, Koff informed her that her contract was her handbook. Plaintiff alleges that the defendants terminated her contract on December 31st, 2019 because of her complaints regarding the desperate pay for women of honor female wrestlers, the lack of safety and medical protocols after plaintiff suffered the concussion in October 2019, and the sexual harassment of Ring of Honor. Now, there's also the failure to provide a safe place of employment. We already went through this. Violation of state and federal equal pay acts. This is the same thing that we just talked about. Kelly Klein is seeking $75,000, including but not limited to declaratory judgment for this court, compulsory damages, including but not limited to past and future medical bills, past and future lost wages and lost earning capacity, damages as set forth by the Maryland Code of Labor and Employment, annoyance, aggravation, inconvenience, loss of enjoyment of life, Emotional distress, loss of enjoyment of life. What the fuck? Emotional distress, mental anguish. Consequential and incidental damages, court costs and expenses incurred in this action. Pre and post judgment interest, attorneys' costs and fees, all such damages and relief as are required are available. Under Maryland Code and other applicable Maryland law, all such other and further relief as this court deems suitable and proper. Okay, or just and proper. So she only wants $75,000, but plus damages. $75,000 plus damages. Look, I don't have a lot of time left because I can only do like an hour of these videos. So Kelly Klein has been a thorn in the side of Ring of Honor for quite a while now. It's 2 years, right? She did the whole public thing with the Newsweek article. She's been pretty consistent, even though she can go back and look at the Newsweek article and just redo the dates. So, and plus everything says on or about. So it's like on or about April 7th, 2018 or whatever, right? So this is an ugly situation. I will not be surprised if, all of this stuff comes up about Jay Lethal. Now somebody's going to see it and say, oh, Jay Lethal was sexually harassing Kelly Klein and he should get canceled and be booted from shows. But this is an ugly situation. See, Ring of Honor just really started bouncing back from this stuff. Like the pandemic was kind of perfect for them because this stuff blew up in early 2020. And then the pandemic came in and washed everything away. So now she's back. And pretty much Kelly Klein's career is pretty much done, if we're being honest. I don't think she's going to be able to work anywhere else. After, blowing the whistle and, her husband being a producer and then he saying that she was cheating and then getting a divorce, and then, the whole, all of the various complaints and all this type of stuff, this stuff could really kill your career. And I think that's probably what this lawsuit is about is she knows she can't work anywhere else. So she might as well just take Ring of Honor down with her, and I don't know whether it's true or not. This stuff could be true. I haven't seen some of these matches where, people have fallen on her or whatever. But I think you have a right to sue, and Ring of Honor has the right to reply. So we will be paying attention to Ring of Honor's reply. But this is some pretty ugly shit. And and the article, which is saying that Jay Lethal sexually harassed her at a hotel and he made her feel uncomfortable and continues to do so. And that the company kind of knows and was trying to keep them apart, but just wouldn't, do a formal investigation. They said there's no formal investigation because there's no formal complaint. There was no, maybe no written complaint. And then, of course, the concussion protocols, which they say that they have them, but also say that, that she says that they're not visible. So these things being put together is pretty ugly. This is some ugly shit, but it's all very interesting. Ring of Honor is going to argue that she breached her contract by making these comments publicly, or at least sharing information with third parties. And it's going to get ugly because they're probably going to go low and probably accuse her of some things, which is why, again, I felt like it was necessary to go through the whole Newsweek article. You probably say, well, look, this should have been just about the lawsuit. I say, no, it has to be about the lawsuit and the Newsweek article because all of it is going to be brought back up. So you might as well just have one central place of everything that was together. Her and Joey Mercury went on this tweet storm that kicked up a lot of noise on Twitter. The Newsweek article came out. Then it came out that she and BJ Whitmer was getting divorced because she had stepped out of her marriage, according to BJ Whitmer. And now this lawsuit is coming. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And really, this is, it's really only Kelly Klein and Joey Mercury talking. Like when you're an office stooge, like, Joe Koff or somebody like that, you don't go out and do a lot of talking, right? You may send a PR statement out there, but you're not going to go out there and defend yourself against every allegation people make. But when they file a lawsuit, now we're going to talk about discovery, and people are going to start seeing, okay, let's look at these emails and, how much of this stuff can be documented. Can it be documented that she had a concussion, or where is the concussion policy? You know, if it really exists, it'll come out in discovery. Is there a written complaint against Jay Lethal? If it is, it'll come out in discovery. That sort of stuff. That stuff will be very interesting. That stuff's going to be very interesting. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. I thank you guys for your time and energy and for listening to all this shit. Use the hashtag 3Con Commentary to support the channel. Also, if you want to send cash, please do via the comment section will be the Cash App. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Yeah.